I'm Brian Gallagher, the chairman of the Commission on Disability. Today is the June 26, 2023 meeting of the Commission on Disability. We have 3 members present. 2 members have definitely said they can't make it, and we have not heard from the other 2, but we're going to get started anyway. So hopefully they will show up.
Yeah.
Usually, at least one of the members indicates that he will participate remotely, but I have not heard from him to that effect, so it looks like there will be no remote participation today. Since there are only 3 of us, we'll have a quorum, so we can actually vote on the minutes of the prior meeting. But did you guys receive the minutes of that?
Yes. Yep.
Do you have any suggested changes or additions that you want to?
No.
I try to be as comprehensive as I can.
Yeah, it was good. No, you seem like you cover everything.
And I guess the next time we have a quorum, we will vote on them.
And they are being consistently posted to the website.
Oh,
along
good.
with the agendas.
Good.
So.
Good. The next item on the agenda are beach updates. I just want to remind people that whenever you go to one of the beaches in town, a beach pass is required, and if you're going to park in one of the handicap parking spots, a handicap placard or a handicap plate will be required in addition to the beach pass. I want to talk about Beach Avenue first. I spoke to Ross Moran, who confirmed that the mobility masts are in place. They're not quite where they have been because of the erosion over in Beach Avenue.
Brian, when you're ready, I stopped by today, so I can tell you where they are exactly.
Okay.
I remember I mentioned to you guys that where they used to be, it was quite a hill to get up there.
Right.
So maybe about 25 feet to the east, there was somebody must have busted down part of the railing that's there, the wooden railing. I think it's like a big old 4 by something,
Right.
board. Anyway, that's where the mowing mat is now. Now the only problem, and what they did with it, which is a little disappointing, but I understand, is they didn't put it over to the beach because that beach grass is growing over toward that rock.
Right.
They don't want to damage the beach grass. There's about, I don't know, there must be about maybe this much room between the beach grass. I mean, you could probably squeeze the wheelchair by, but the mowing mat itself would go on top of the grass. I guess that was their concern. So they have it going straight ahead, if you can picture it, to where the rocks are there, and you can kind of park yourself right there and look out over the water, but you can't get into the water. One thing I was wondering if I can call Ross about it, is that the mowing mat starts too far in. So there's about a 5-foot section that's really sandy. So if you were to go in your wheelchair alone, you'd have a hard time. And even if you're with somebody, matter of fact, there was somebody there at the end of the mowing mat enjoying it, by the way. Her husband, the Kellys, her husband was a polio victim, and he was sitting in his wheelchair enjoying it, but she said she really had to wiggle him onto the mowing mat.
Yeah.
She said she drove the car like, if the mowing mat starts here, right? This is the driveway, the parking area. She brought her car up like that so she could get him out like that, which shouldn't have to do. You know what I'm saying? So all you have to do is just get. I think we have extra. Ross has extra mowing mats because it's a shorter distance than it was in years past, and just bring another 5-foot section right to the road so that you don't have to. So I'll call him if you want me to, and I'll explain it to him and see what he says.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a jurisdiction question at that point because it's next to the road.
I'm wondering,
Oh. Yeah, if you could inquire.
but it still makes access difficult. Not
Right.
impossible, but difficult. So unfortunately, we didn't bring the geogrids right up to the edge like that. And that's why it's a little soft there. Which, by the way, I went down there specifically to see if the mowing mats were in, and secondly to look at the parking lot, and it was fantastic. It was like the first day it was put in there. I'm really surprised. It's nice and solid. These folks who were there enjoying the beach had their car parked right on it, nice and solid, and I parked mine next to theirs. I did a 3-point turn to get out. No sand or ruts or anything like that, and nothing was washed away or nothing gravitated to the surface like it was to suggest that might happen. So,
Was the rest of the road clear enough so you don't have to navigate through ruts and potholes and things?
unfortunately not. There's lots of potholes.
Yeah, okay.
If the Moby Mat area holds up over a couple of seasons, then I think it would be worthwhile for us to consider a few additional mats to extend to where the Moby Mat starts. So at least we could make a pathway there.
What do you mean? From the parking
From the
area?
handicap area that
Yeah.
we already put the
Geo-
geogrids in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So get additional geogrids to bring it up to where the Moby Mats start, just so that you've got a nice hard path.
Oh, yeah.
Pathway there. And then maybe if it does work over the long term like that, the town would consider that as a more semi-permanent solution to Beach Avenue versus
Yeah, it would be perfect. It was done all the way down, you know.
the
Well,
off-road.
it should be tarred, is what it should be,
Yeah.
like it was years ago.
But it would allow for a a permeable surface
Yeah, yeah,
like
true.
it is, but
True.
it would hold up a lot better to the erosion.
That's a good suggestion. I know from personal experience that trying to navigate through sand, whether you're on forearm crutches, a manual wheelchair, even my powered wheelchair,
Yeah,
does not do well in
No.
straight sand. And an example was my wife and I went over Westport Woods, and the trail has a solidified hard packed gravel, and it was great.
right.
But we tried to travel through the rest of Westport Woods, the part that we could get to, and the path was sandy, and my power chair did not do well in the sandy part. So, over on Beach Avenue, when you're trying to get up onto the mobility mat, if you have to travel through loose sand
Yes.
and you are disabled, it's very hard. So,
It's going to be difficult. That
and-
needs, I hope we can do that, at least for this year, just extend it a little bit because it almost doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Why have the mowing mats if you still got to fight 5 feet to get in? Anyway.
It's like
Well,
a
now-
sidewalk with no curb cut.
Exactly,
Good
exactly,
intention, but
exactly.
Not practical.
And now we have some anecdotal evidence about how well they work.
Yes, yes.
And we've gone through the board to get approval for the ones that are there. And if we have the money, which hopefully we will now that the summer season has come, we should be considering buying more geogrids, doing what we have to do to get the approval and get them put down so that people can park, have their car, get into their wheelchair and get over to wherever the mobility mats are. Because it's a beautiful spot over there,
It is.
and we like to try to make as much use of it as we can.
Agreed.
The next one is North Beach, some people call it Baby Beach. Martin earlier sent me a photograph of the mobility mats which have been put down,
Mm-hmm.
but because of storms and water flow, there is a trench or a gully that has formed because of runoff, and it's right in the area where the mobility mats are. And hopefully our road department can fix that,
Yeah, you can fix it temporarily.
because that is also a nice place for a family to go, take your young children over. But if somebody has mobility issues, then having difficulty with the mobility mats and with erosion could affect their stay.
Hey, Jim.
So we'll see what we can do to help
Yeah.
enhance that experience. Hello, Jim.
How are you?
Great.
How you doing after the big move, the big file cabinet? That was pretty heavy, huh?
It was awkward. It wasn't-
Awkward, yeah, so big.
It wasn't too bad.
Okay.
What's happening?
Well, go ahead, Brian.
We have on our agenda the ADA transition team, and I put on the agenda the fact that right now there's not a heck of a lot we can do. The plan that we have covered a lot of the things that needed to be addressed, like the elevator in this building, the ramp in the annex.
Yeah?
But there were things on the horizon, such as the sale of the high school, or the repurposing of the high school, whatever the town decides is going to happen there. And we also had a presentation from a planner who's got this plan for changing Main Road, but make it more pedestrian friendly.
Yeah,
So when those things are coming to fruition, we want to be involved in having input in increasing the accessibility for disabled individuals who might need it. So that's down the road on the horizon, but that's something we're going to need to talk to you about as the ADA transition plan coordinator. You know, a position that's been thrust upon you.
am I the official coordinator
whether
or
you
just
want it
on
or-
the?
You are, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. You don't, I don't know that you have to take that position, but I guess because King was the ADA
Yeah.
coordinator last time, right? It automatically goes to you.
So I'm the coordinator, but not necessarily the transition plan
Mm.
coordinator, right? So-
No, but you're, according to rules I've read, you've got to be part of that transition plan. You've got to be available to that. You're also supposed to be the person that, when people have complaints, like they can't get into
Right, that I do.
right? You do know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So,
But
but
as
you
far
don't,
as leading the plan, I don't know if that's a
okay.
requirement. I think maybe I participate, but
So maybe we can just bring it to you and just make, you know, and have you take a look at it once we get things together?
yeah, I don't mind
Yeah.
helping out a bit. I just,
Yeah, I agree.
We've also asked the planning board to send us regular notifications when things come before them. New homes, new developments, and for us to review, to see if there are sidewalks in place, if there are curb cuts, if there's been consideration given to accessibility issues. So hopefully when a decision is made about what to do with the high school, and if it's decided to repurpose the high school and all these functions, like town hall annex, council on aging, will go over there, the plans are going to have to include accessibility. So that's one of the things that we, on the transition plan, will want to be involved in, want to talk about. But as Martin has pointed out to me in conversations, Massachusetts and the Massachusetts Office of Disability, there's money available for grants if changes want to be made. So perhaps if the town needs help or wants help, a proposal has to be put together, and I think that the ADA transition plan has to be up to date before a grant request will be considered. So if it gets to that point where people are looking for other resources, other funds, our transition team will definitely have to meet to make sure that the plan is as updated as we can possibly make it, so that we can go to the town, the state government rather, and honestly say to them, our plan is updated, this is what we want to do, this is the money we need. And we're not talking about a few dollars. They have millions of dollars that they are willing to grant to people. Now, in the past, there have been quite a few applicants. So any application that we put forward will have to be compelling. So if we're moving all of the functions from these buildings to the high school, and we want to make the high school as handicap compliant and accessible as we can, we've got to make a compelling case for those funds.
So there's a couple of things, right? With the high school, any building we do, any work we do, we have to make it accessible, right? We have to meet the requirements. But just because we make it accessible doesn't necessarily mean it's a good accessible, right? I mean, you guys might see things that we meet the general requirements, but it's still too long to hike to get to the door, or the elevator's down the other side of the building where it actually meets code, but it doesn't necessarily meet the needs of the group. So if we get to that point, yes, I think you guys should definitely be involved in looking or reviewing the design. I don't know. It's an interesting where we're going to end up with the high school. I don't know. There's a lot of challenges to convert that to municipal uses.
Yeah.
And
And there are a lot of people in town, I think, that are in favor of just selling it and then doing what we need to do to upgrade the buildings that we have. But then there's also a cost to that as well.
Yep, yeah. So that's the high school. As far as the ADA plan, I worked on an ADA plan probably in the 90s. It's a significant amount of work.
Did you work on this one? Ours?
I worked on one in Fall River.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I don't know how old ours is. This is before my time.
2010, I was just.
Ours?
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're 13 years behind.
And it looked like you had a consultant or a agency assistant. It actually did nice, and it was colorful. I didn't read through the whole thing. I just
Yeah.
glanced at it. It was professionally done. But I don't know if the requirements have changed, but we did it back, geez, almost 30 years ago now. It's everything, right? Every public facility, you have to do an assessment on.
Right.
Every drinking fountain,
Yeah, but the majority of it's already been done with the 2010 one, right? So it shouldn't be that much more.
It should be. You need somebody to verify what's been upgraded, what hasn't.
Okay.
I think you need somebody from this commission to go and visit every facility with the consultant or whoever's doing it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's not something we can do in-house.
Yeah.
So I only checked with a while ago, but I checked with Serpent. It's actually doing Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District that
Yes.
we work with. They are doing some, it looks like they're doing some of these ADA plans, the
Oh, really?
transition plans.
Okay.
I think Lakeville. I just copied you on an email.
Oh, good. Thanks.
So-
Okay, great.
I reached out to Elizabeth Gonzalez, I think was her name, from
Okay.
Serpent.
Okay.
She's out this week. I'm out next week, but the week after we can touch base. Yeah.
Your feeling is that we need somebody out of our jurisdiction to help us out? Either hire somebody or bring somebody in like
I don't see
Serpent?
how we're gonna get it
Okay,
done.
right.
We can fiddle around with it for the next 5 years, but you're not gonna get it done.
Right, no, we need to do it before
We just don't
then.
have the staff or the resources to do
Okay,
it. So
okay.
we either gotta get a funding source to do it, or maybe Serpent. We have some hours with them. I don't think it would be enough,
Oh,
but combination of both.
okay.
It's something that's gotta get done.
Yeah. I just feel bad that, the money's there, and I'd like to apply for that, the grants, we can't do it
Yeah.
until this is up to date. And I just thought, well, majority of it's been done, and I didn't realize we have to go through all the other buildings and okay it again.
I tried looking it up, what the update was, and I didn't find the specifics.
I know, no, I haven't either.
It's,
It's- I'll work on that.
And if all these activities stay in these buildings and the buildings have to be reviewed again to make sure that they're compliant, and I'm guessing all those same aspects. And maybe there were things that can be updated to meet 2023 standards. But you're right, we're probably gonna need a consultant to do that, which is why we're gonna have to look for some money to make that all happen. And as we know, the budget in this town is kind of tight right now.
It's too bad we just passed town meeting, right? If this was 3-4 months ago, we could have put some money aside for something like this, because one-time expenditures, they tend to favor that, right?
Right.
I think we could get it for next town meeting. If we have a special town meeting, we could probably put some money aside. Depending on what the costs are, maybe we can
Right.
move something around and get it started. I don't know. If it's,
Well, we have some money too. You don't want to, you're not in favor of putting it toward that?
Well, yeah, but the amount of money that we have fluctuates from year to year depending upon how many people illegally park in handicapped parking spaces. And now that the summer season is underway, I check the shorelines every time it comes out to see how many parking violations were issued. And sometimes it's a substantial amount of money, but when I say a substantial amount of money, we might have $10,000 or $15,000 in our account, and we're always looking for ways to spend it. So yeah,
Do you have any idea what a consultant would cost for something like this? Are we talking in the 30 or 50,000 range, or is it 10 or 20,000?
so we did a housing production, but most of this is boilerplate, right? So they can take the old plan and then they just kind of follow up. And
Sure.
I don't think it's. I'd like to say 20,000, maybe a little less, but you don't know with a consultant sometimes. It's. I would say that I don't see why we couldn't do it for 20,000.
Okay.
an intermediate step to consider, maybe that committee, because there is a dedicated committee for the ADA transition, right? So I think you're on it, Brian, and
Oh, yeah, you mean in town? Yeah.
but it's beyond just our group.
Yeah, that's what I'm
There's
saying.
there's a separate committee just for that. Potentially getting that group to meet a couple of times, review the existing plan, and not walk every building and look at everything, but just go through based on our knowledge of the town and say, oh yeah, the annex, yep, there's a ramp there, we're good. Check off some, and then we'd be able to have some idea of what the
Exactly,
outlying items
exactly.
are that we could bring to a consultant to, get a more reasonable estimate. And then yes, either if it's reasonable, it may be something we could fund. If it's a little bit more than that, then certainly we've got the time between now and next town meeting to try to consider something like that. But I think it would start with getting a little bit of forward movement on the existing plan.
And Circuit could give us a general idea.
Okay.
As to what their costs would be.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They used to be very cheap, but now I'm finding out they're a little bit more expensive than,
Oh,
Yeah, things.
still probably cheaper than most consultants, but it's not the bargain it used to be. I mean, they have to bring in revenue. This is one of the ways I think they keep their organization moving, so.
all right. You send me the contact, I'll write them then.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll contact them.
Yeah, there's lots of projects going on beyond the old high school too. I know Recreation's working on some playground work, which
Yeah.
are in desperate need of help. There's the Central Village plan that's coming back around with accessibility and having a vibrant ADA plan around it that's beyond what our committee can do.
Mhm.
I think would be a good way to make sure that there's a healthy dialogue going on around some of those projects. So.
All right, so let's gather some more information and, see what this is gonna cost and what,
Yeah.
I'll talk to Jeff Dugan too from Massachusetts Association, Mass Office of Disability. He'll fill me in more detail. Maybe he's got some resources too.
Well, that would be helpful, thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
That's good.
thank you.
I know
for your
mine
time.
usually keeps me up to date on things, but there is some, like a lot of things I don't notice, like the file cabinet there. I heard there was a file cabinet downstairs, I didn't realize it was in that lobby, but anything like that, let us know.
I saw it this morning when I saw you, but I walk around it. Sorry, you guys. Oh, not you. You walk too. But, so I didn't really think of it. And then I thought, oh my God, today when I was coming down, if that cabinet's still there, he can't get by. So, yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I try to keep it posted.
Anything like that.
I mean, you're okay with the ADA coordinator. I mean, it did get thrown on you. I mean, but you get some experience.
I have very limited
I was
experience.
going to say you're the best candidate because I don't know anybody else
Yeah, I don't
that,
know.
that you could recommend that would, take this weight off of you. And
Really haven't had to do much with it.
Yeah.
It's set up out there. We have meetings, nobody's really requested any assistance
That's
at
true.
any of these meetings.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes one person that has a need that goes to a lot of meetings and then that can change everything.
Yeah.
But we haven't had anybody at this point. To be honest with you, if somebody came in requesting assistance, I'd probably refer to check with you guys to see
Yeah,
who to
yeah.
contact anyway. So.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Yep, the coordinator can't come from us. It's gotta be someone else, and I think someone else in town government.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
That's how I understand it, yeah.
I think it's usually this position.
Okay.
So
No.
It all ends
It
up
comes
there.
with the job.
It doesn't stop somewhere
It's not
else.
out of the ordinary. But
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if it got thrown on your lap. I don't think that's fair. If there are other people, qualified people, but I couldn't, we're trying to think as who else could we ask? And we really don't know anybody.
If we get to the point where we're gonna hire a consultant, then those of us who are on the transition team, who are also on the commission, can certainly work with that person.
Yep.
And then, we know where you live.
Yeah.
So we would put it out, if we had to go out for proposals, we'd put it out for proposals. I guess the ADA transition team there would kind of get together, review the proposals and pick a consultant and work with the consultant. And the
Okay.
consultant would kind of report back to that committee.
Well, that's even helpful, just to know what the first steps are, Jim, so that's a good idea.
And depending on the price, maybe we don't have to go out for proposals, we might be able to just contact a couple of them
Good,
and get quotes. So.
okay.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank
you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you for stopping in.
Yep.
Rick, there's short one member on the committee.
Yes.
Just
Well,
letting you know.
We
You'd be so good at it. Come on, you're good at that.
have you, me, and Anders.
I know, but they always advertise with short one member.
Yeah.
Right, because it's supposed to be 5 members, I think, because then it's Jim, right? You, me, and Anders, and they need one more.
Well,
I
at this
think.
point, it's
Yes.
not a high commitment of time.
No, it isn't.
I would hope that at some point it would become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like you think.
I just didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal because I figured almost everything's been done up to 210. Yeah. But he's saying that we have to go through every building and make sure it's all been done. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and
I just thought we could add to it, like you're talking about, as new things have happened in town to say, okay,
That's why I was mentioning. I think there's a step in between though, where yes, to get the official plan updated and signed off on, it needs to go through every building and vet everything. But I don't know that we, as a town, have a good feel for where we left off with the 2010 plan. You know, did everything get completed? And do we need to walk through every building to see that, or did we just know by asking different department leads?
Agreed,
Looking at different
agreed.
buildings. Was there a ramp at it? They said we had no ramp at this building. Oh, we've added a ramp. There was no elevator. Yep, there was an elevator. Automatic doors.
well, the main thing were the old buildings, right? That all the Council on Aging's at and right here and so forth. And I think those have all been,
If we can check off a lot of that.
These are gonna be
and
checked
then
off, right.
Add to the list things that have come up since then that we're aware of. Even some of the ones that came up at our last meeting at the very brand new high school about, you know, bleacher cutouts and things.
Yeah.
that
That's
they
true, too.
missed.
Well, as Jim was mentioning, they say it's ADA compliant, but then when people actually start to use it,
Right.
there are issues indicating it, which highlight the fact that it's not really compliant for those people who need it to be.
If they put in new playgrounds but they use mulch,
right.
it's not going to work. They need to do the rubber,
Right.
the rubber mats. You know, there's all kinds of little things coming up that we know of that I think if we made the list, it would make it easier for the town to go to those consultants and say, here's things that we're already aware of. You don't need to. You will drive around town, but before you do, here are some areas of focus that we'd like you to look at.
Right.
And that I think would streamline the consulting process too.
It's been a while since I looked at the plan.
Where is it? You can find it online?
I think so. I have a actual,
Oh, you get the actual
Physical
plan,
copy of it.
the physical copy, okay.
yeah, and
It must be online somewhere. You can
Yeah,
find it.
let's just get a
Okay,
check,
Rick's
yeah.
gonna find out.
somewhere.
Because I'd like to read it too, you know?
Yeah. I was given a copy when I joined the commission, and I don't remember who gave it to me. I don't know if it was Stanley or Jeff Poe, but I was given a copy of it. And the things that I remember being on it were this building with the elevator, the other building with the ramp, both buildings with automatic doors. The playground was mentioned.
It was, oh yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember the specifics about the playground, other than maybe access to the playground.
Right, yeah.
But I don't remember what he said about the surface, and at that time, thought was perhaps not given to that pliable
Right.
mat type surface.
But having to navigate over a 6x6 to then go through bad mulch
Oh, it's
to
horrible.
get to the handicap
Horrible.
accessible swing.
Right.
It's not accessible at all.
The swing is nice, but if you can't even reach it, that's
Right, right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, I think that's where they've missed a few.
I think Dana's pretty well aware of it. By the way, I was online for another Zoom thing with MOD, and they just to be quick about it, they were going through different accessibility rules and regulations, and one of them they give a website. Damn it, now I can't find it. But I gave it to Dana, which basically is a checklist. So say it's a playground, it'll say everything. It's www.adachecklist.org. And it'll help you determine what accesses are necessary for a specific facility.
Oh, great.
And it's really cool. You can check it out. And so they have an area for playgrounds, for example. So I sent that to Dana to say, Dana, this is the kind of things you're going to need to include in the playground. Include that spongy,
Yep.
floor surfacing and other ideas like that. But also, it deals with bathrooms and buildings and all kinds of stuff. So
That's great.
Anyway, I think they're going to be on top of it, but then they're going to come to us, she said, to make sure that they're covering all the.
I'll see if I can find a copy of that transition plan.
I appreciate
online,
that.
and I'll
Obviously,
share
we ought to be able to know what we're dealing with before
Right.
we get started,
Yeah, if you guys can't find it online, let me know.
Okay,
As I said, I'll dig out the copy somewhere in my house. And then, but it's huge. It's not
Yeah.
something you can run through your home photocopier.
Right.
So I would have to, maybe even ask the town to make arrangements to have a copy for all the members.
There should be a way to reduce that. My God, does it have to be that, does it have to be that large?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe it could be digitized so that it could be brought down. I mean, that's probably expensive,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
the point is it's so inaccessible being so huge like that, you know?
But, the larger the thing, the more important.
Good point, Brian.
That website you mentioned is adaaccess.org.
What did I say?
ADAchecklist.org, I believe.
Yeah, adachecklist.org. Very cool. And it's the actual checklist. You just check off as you go through everything. Make sure you're covering it.
That may be good for, I'll look at where we can post that on our website as
Oh.
a resource.
Good.
I wonder if it may also be helpful for us as the Commission on Disability to send it as a resource to other town departments.
Yes.
Whether it's Highway Department, Planning, Building,
Well,
Building
that's what I did for recreation. That was my thought, because they're always asking. Well, at least the highway calls me every so often. Like they
Right.
called me for the dispensary.
You are the town of Westport's ADA checklist, but if they had a website when you're not available,
Hey, I act like I know what I'm talking about, but they just wanted to make sure, I know the basic stuff of how many parking spaces there should be and things like that, but, they wanted to look at the parking. The big thing with the dispensary was they were very concerned with the fact that it's on a highway, and when you say somebody's in a wheelchair on a bus and you go to drop them off, how are you going to stop without, causing an accident and making sure the person gets off the bus all right? So they did a nice job with putting a separate little walkway so you can put the wheelchair on there and so forth, But, yeah, anyway, I'm just very, just drives me nuts when I read that thing. I get an email, you guys probably get it sometimes too, from MOD, which says, we're opening up for the grant program now, but you got to have this and this and this available.
Yeah.
One of them is the transition plan. So that's why I'm pushing for it to get it done,
And it's something we should get done. And to Rick's point, perhaps you, me, and Anders could get together, review the plan, and say, this has been done.
Yes,
This
yes.
needs to be done. Are there other things that we would like to address right now?
Right.
So that we can, perhaps present them to a consultant, because it sounds like we're definitely going to need the assistance of a professional consultant to put together a plan and get it off to the state government.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure we need a professional. I thought we needed a professional to get it started and bring it up to where it was in 2010, and then we as a committee could, we see what the plan looks like and could take it from there. I mean, it could be wrong, but it'd be nice if we didn't need that person. If we just could add these things that you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, maybe we don't know the wording properly, and they can help us with the wording, but maybe we just need, like he was talking about, somebody we can talk to at Serpent or whatever, and can guide us through it. But let me find out. I'm going to call them and I'll talk to Jeff.
May know as well, where, it could just be as simple as, you need to show regular meeting minutes of the Transition Planning Committee.
Okay.
And an annual review of the plan.
True.
And if the committee is reviewing and meeting regularly, then that serves as enough to keep it up to date. If it's as simple as that, then there's no better reason to get that reactivated within the town. Especially with some of the projects coming up that, given the current budget situation, could benefit from a grant.
Yeah.
It's a shame not
For
to
sure.
qualify because of a paperwork issue.
If we're going to put together some sort of our own plan, it would probably be helpful to have someone who's a little bit more computer savvy than I am. I'm proud to say you can turn mine on in the morning and I can turn it off at night. But I am a dinosaur, and I'm proud to admit
There's a lot to it.
there is.
I can't even get halfway through the damn Word program. That Word program, they keep updating it and they add more bells and whistles, and I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute, this used to be over here now they moved it over there. Where the hell is the paragraph thing? That's basic stuff, right? Never mind, when you start getting to the more complicated things. But anyway, yeah, we'll do that. I'll start getting make some calls and see what the suggestions are of what we really need to do. But I agree, we need to get at least get a meeting going and just say we've met once or twice, you know what I mean? So
So getting back to our
Oh, yeah.
discussion of
where were we?
talking about North Beach and the rut.
Oh, yeah. I sent you that picture. May I make a comment on that? I happened to stop in there too. And by the way, this is funny because in both places there was one person at each beach, and both of them can talk, baby. They can talk, which is nice. But they were very lovely. But they talk about. But anyway, it was great to see people use it and enjoy it. It seemed like the rut was to the right, like the movie mats are right here, and it's right to the edge of it, which is kind of dangerous because I could feel the edge of the movie mat go down into the rut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the movie mat itself is solid. So I called Chris Gonzalez on the way home, and I said, "Did you guys fix that? You know, did you put stone under the movie mat?" And he said, "Yeah, we put a little bit." So he knows about the rut, and he said by Wednesday or Thursday they're going to go over there and do something with it. But that's not a permanent fix.
Yeah.
So my thought was, I said to Brian, and I talked to Chris about this, and he's 100% for it. I said, maybe we should put geogrids there, because that's what they're made for. They're made for the erosion on a slight incline that it is that goes down to the river, to the water there. And
Did you share that picture with Rick?
I did not, and I shall share it with him now.
Yeah,
So anyway, so Chris was. I wanted to see what you guys thought about that idea about where we should move forward with this instead of always having him go repair it after every storm. I mean, something more permanent needs to be done now.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what he has in mind for something more permanent. And as you suggested, maybe geogrids would be a good solution. My concern is the water running over them. I don't want them to get, and water to get underneath them and somehow make them
Yeah,
unstable.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to talk to one of the engineers. Every time you call wherever they sell the geogrids, they have an engineer available, and they're really very helpful to say to them, listen, there's water that runs down there all the time. Will it make that unstable underneath the geogrid? You know, I don't think it will, because from what I've read, it's made to stop. They show pictures of, you know, the sides, you know, the embankments on the side of the highway, and they have all geogrids on that just to stop all that. So,
And they're firmly anchored into the ground. So
Yes.
hopefully
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it may
think
create if it's going to naturally drain through there anyway, it may create a solid base to keep it from washing out every year. So,
I don't know if you have to place it in there a little bit differently, but I could ask the engineer that. But I think it's made for that, and I think that's the only thing we could do, you know, that would stop that from occurring all the time.
Right.
I was hopeful that when they put some stone, because, you know, just put a little stone to drain out, that would be enough. You know what I mean? Just make the whole pathway stone,
Yep.
so water's just going through there. But now you're gonna have to expand the stone to either side of the mat, because that's what's happening now. It's going down the right-hand side. It's crazy, and it's
Yeah.
deep. And it's deep.
oh,
Somebody,
yeah, that's bad.
can you see how deep that is?
Yeah. If somebody catches a wheel,
Yes,
yeah, they're going to
you're going to twist your ankle on that. There's a liability there. So that's why he said they would get to it on Thursday, hopefully Thursday this week.
Even an able-bodied person that steps on
That's
that
right.
mat thinking that it's solid
That's exactly.
could turn an ankle.
But a wheelchair too would go off into that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and any attempt to fix that water problem would be a big undertaking. Try to direct the water
right.
in another direction. And I don't know that the town would really support doing that.
Right. There's a particular, but I suppose you could put a berm up at the top, but you're still going to have the water. Say there's a downpour that's just going to land on that area, right? It's still going to erode it out.
Yeah.
As long as you can stop the water, I think you pretty much stop the water from coming. I have to go there during a rainstorm and see what's going on from the parking lot, but I just think it's just inclined enough so that it just all, you know, obviously water's going to go least resistance toward the ocean.
Did you say you were out there today?
Mhm.
Is there a wheelchair accessible picnic table?
There is not, Brian. Don't look at me like that. You called Sean this time. I called him 4 times and asked him. Now I'm going to put it on you. No, he said that they would order it. He says it's being ordered. I don't know what the holdup is. But listen, I'm going to talk to him about the rut, and I will bring that up again. Okay? But he did tell me they ordered it. I was kind of surprised it wasn't there. I said to myself, oh, no, now I got to tell the chairman. There's no accessible picnic table available. There are 3 tables there, but not the accessible one. I know he's been busy with Sean with the lifeguards for the beach, huh? That was a big problem. Finally get the lifeguards going, so that's good.
Well, yeah, one moment it looks like no lifeguards, and the next moment it's
Wow,
we
that was
have a
something.
solution.
That was something. It's kind of strange that I guess the head lifeguard left and all the rest of the kids went with him.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I wonder if there was something going on, where they were not happy there or.
When you look at the disparity between what the state pays at Horse Neck versus what the town pays, it's significant.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, true. That's always a
For
problem.
the amount of activity at Horse Neck versus Cherry and Webb,
Oh, good
typically in
point.
the summer, it's,
Good point.
if
It's not as.
it's not a bad summer job
Not as risky,
for
yeah.
And you remember what it was like being a young kid trying to do a summer job, make some money?
yeah.
Well, $5 or $6 an hour is
Right.
significant.
Right.
Particularly if you're putting in
It's crazy.
40-hour weeks. So I can understand why people would go. And I don't blame them for doing that. Because people will encounter that type of thinking no matter what you do in life. As a business person,
Yep.
somebody comes along and says, that employee of yours is good, I like them, I'm going to pay them more than you're paying.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're gone.
They're gone.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, it happened to me all the time in my firm.
Lawyers would leave if they got a better offer
Yeah,
elsewhere.
yeah, some young lawyer goes to a deposition and another lawyer says, I like that kid.
Oh, no kidding.
So whenever I would hire new lawyers, I would try to make the spiel like, I can't pay you that much, but I can offer you something that they can't, a better quality of life. But when you're a young kid working as a lifeguard, you have a pretty darn good quality of life no matter where
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
So take a few extra bucks in your pocket.
Yeah, yeah. And, sometimes kids are saving for college, they're saving for a car, and every little extra bit of money helps. So I understand that thinking. The other beach I put on the agenda is East Beach. For those of you who haven't been there, there is a significant accessibility issue there. It's almost impossible for people with disabilities to actually get down to the water. But you can go and park there. Again, you need a beach pass. But you can park there and you can look out at Buzzards Bay. You can see over to the islands if the weather is clear. And it's a lovely way to spend some time. And if you want to take a picnic chair with you, you can set it up on stones.
Right.
And get out and sit, have a sandwich, and look at the water. But don't be disappointed if you can't actually get down into the water.
I'd like to mention along with that, I sent an email to the supervisor of Parks and Recreation for, the Department of Parks and Recreation for the state beach Gooseberry. Because, we have 2 handicap parking spots there.
Yeah.
It always cracked me up that they lead nowhere. Basically, again, it's to look at the beach, I suppose, So I wrote to him to say, gee, there's a walking path. I actually sent him a picture. There's a ramp there. There's a boat ramp. And to the right of it, people have walked through some rocks and made their own path. His point was, my thought was, that would be a perfect path, to put some movie mats down and then you it drops right off at the beach. He said, well, that's been made by people and it's not really a, technical path. And he just gave me the runaround. He just didn't want to, look into it too much. He said he could look into maybe alongside the, well, it's true, I suppose, if you go down the ramp is hard gravel and tar.
Right.
But, so you could probably put a wheelchair along there, but still.
You still need an exit. off.
Exactly.
Right.
So my thought was, and then of course I pushed it even further by saying, that walk to the tower is awesome. And it was tarred at one point. I was not aware of that because I walked it to the tower for exercise, and you could see the chunks of tar that were underneath there before. And it's all hard gravel, but there's a lot of rocks right and left, so if you went in your wheelchair, it'd be a little tough to get down there. But then there's a section about halfway down that's all sandy again, so that would have to be gravelled out and so forth.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, they didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is, if you put handicap spots down there, and it is a state, park,
Yeah.
at least make it.
Well, it's the difference between the requirement of ADA and the
Yes.
and the practicality.
Very good
of it,
point.
Very
Very good point.
They're required to put them there, whether it's practical to use.
Now you look at the state beach, Horse Lake Beach.
They've done well.
they've done the requirement with that
They've done
very well. All the bathrooms accessible, the snack bar is wonderful, you get access to the beach very easily, and I wish they'd do something like that over there, but I don't think they think it's top priority.
And there are quite a few handicap parking spots.
Yes, there's plenty of them now,
Close to access to
Yes.
the beach.
and it's free,
Yeah,
so what the heck?
just display your placard or your plate.
It would be better, I totally understand if the path is being let go back to nature, so to maintain it as an accessible path when it maybe isn't designed for that.
Right.
We could argue that. You could
Yes.
argue the beach, well, the beach, we've got great accessibility at Horse Neck. But if they were at least intentional about saying that the purpose for the handicap spots at Gooseberry was for the boat ramp, and then made them accessible to the boat ramp, so if somebody's launching a boat there, they've got somebody with mobility issues, and then they can more easily access the boat ramp. Well,
But how?
yeah,
But how?
well, that's
You're
why.
gonna
That's what I
put the
mean.
wheelchair in the water, I mean, you know.
But that's what I mean. They're not.
Right, right.
They're not being clear about that.
Right. They're just putting in the required, well, we have, so many parking spaces, we need to put in 2 handicap parking spots.
Right.
But the point is,
Because then you could go to the state ramp in the river, and they've got the docks, and it's accessible in there. Gooseberry is not an accessible area, but being a state park, they're required to have parking spots. So
but it's a beautiful area, and it's not fair that
Required.
somebody like me can walk that whole trail and really enjoy that walk down there, and somebody like Brian cannot,
I agree.
Plus, they also have a gate there, and it's always locked. You have to walk around the gate, so if you had a wheelchair, there's no way you can even get there.
Yeah.
So it's just, whatever. It's too bad.
The big bad state doesn't care about us, Martin.
Well, I can't say that. They took care of us at Horse Neck. I'm very, very proud of that, very pleased with that.
Yeah,
But-
that is a lovely spot, and we've mentioned before, we'll mention it again today. For those of you who actually want to get out to the beach,
Yep,
great parking, free parking,
right.
easy access.
Easy access.
And you can
Bathrooms available,
use Moby mounts to get onto the beach. And if you just want to walk that trail, the trail's all been repaved.
It's great, 2 miles.
And you can go from the campground all the way down.
Yes,
to
you
the
can.
end.
Yes, you can.
And it's a very nice.
So I think that's where the state's at. Like, look, we did Horse Neck Beach, okay? Don't push it. We're not doing Gooseberry.
Yeah.
They didn't say that, but read between the lines.
Yeah, don't pull again.
Don't push it.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought I would try. He was very nice, but he just said, basically that's how it's going to stay.
I also put on here the affordable, accessible housing in Massachusetts. The state government, under our current governor, is doing a lot to invest in accessible and affordable housing. I don't know if any of that money will trickle down to Massachusetts, to Westport, Massachusetts. I think it will.
I think so too.
And because the people in town know that we want to be involved in the planning of these things, the planning board. Hopefully we will see any proposed developments that people want to make if they are in fact recipients of some of that state money. The planning board has been much better about making sure that we are apprised of those proposed changes, although Martin did mention to me today that there is a new development going in town that we have not yet heard anything about in our commission, but I assume that as it moves, there's a few steps further forward, that we will be apprised of it and give a review of the proposed.
I think I know where this place is at. It's called Buckley. I think Buckley Estates is off of Highland Ave. And I think I went down there, Brian, at one point, about maybe a couple of years ago, because there was a real mess with litter over there. And I'm in the litter committee thing. And so I wanted to take a look at it. So my point is, I think the development's been in for a while. That's why we haven't heard about it. It was probably there before, our time.
And now just starting to.
Right, but right now, from what I understand, is that the developers are going to go before the planning board and say the people who bought homes down there don't want sidewalks. So I'm hoping, as I mentioned to Brian, the planning board knows that we've just changed the regulations to say we want to see parking. I mean, sidewalks in all developments of 5 or more units, and you would hope that they would not allow them to take these away that are there, you know? So Mandy Soers is from the planning board and the selectmen is supposed to let me know when that planning board meeting is, and I'll attend it.
And we should try to have as many people from our commission attend as possible.
Yeah,
Because as we know, ours is just an advisory board. We have no power to make any changes
No.
other than trying to make our voices heard. So as many of us that can show up as possible. The room is cramped, and sometimes the meetings go a while before they get to the stuff. But if it comes on and we can make arrangements to go, just plan on being there for.
I'll check the agenda to see if it's gonna be this Tuesday. He said he'd get back to me, but he hasn't. So, but sometimes he calls me the day of and says, oh, the meeting's tonight, 6 o'clock, so then it's either too late or whatever, but I'll check and see if it's on the agenda and let you guys know.
Yeah, and you said you looked and didn't find an agenda?
I looked last week, I couldn't even find the agenda.
Okay.
So, hopefully it's there now. Maybe it doesn't go up until a couple of days before, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
But anyway-
if you hear something.
Yeah, I will.
Just please let us all know.
Now, you read the Boston Globe like I do, I believe, I have access to it, and there was an article about quite a bit of money being, and I think it's trickling down to Westport. They mentioned several communities, and Westport was one of them, that they're going to use for housing the developmentally disabled folks. Like, almost like group housing, I think is what they were talking about. And we have some of that in Westport already, correct?
Yeah.
I was very pleased to see that, but I thought it was gonna be handicapped housing in general. But the more I read about it, the more it was, I kind of read between the lines. But it's good, as you mentioned, to see our governor really pushing that. And as you remember, my friend who came down to speak about housing, how he's trying to get that project going, he's still very eager to, to see, he's trying to find some land. He needs money too, but, to find some land to get this thing rolling. I just think it's a great idea, and it's an out-of-the-box idea, and something we all need. I mean, nothing worse than not having housing for disabled folks, So anyway, I hope that not that the housing that's coming down for the development disabled would also include, or they would at least discuss the idea that we need housing for physically handicapped as well, and that would be great to have something like that, like Ed was proposing.
Yeah. So if I see or hear anything more about it, I will share it, and Martin,
Yeah, let me know.
you too. And if you see anything,
Ed is located like 2.5. He always bugs me to go up and visit him, which I love to do. It's a 2-hour ride. He's up at Salisbury, right on the border. My point is, I think it'd be better if his project was up that way, so we can keep a better eye on it.
Right.
But he feels right now at this point, if anybody donated him land, even like down here in Westport, he'd be willing to work with whatever commission is in whatever area to try to get something started. I think it's commendable, and I he's put a lot of time, and he's got a board of directors and the whole 9 yards. But he just can't get it off the ground because the money's not there,
Right.
and nobody's coming forward to say, okay, we're going to give you a grant for this or whatever it might be. So right now it's a little bit stalled.
Did you see the article that came out the other day about the planned work to be done on the tunnel going back and
Yes.
forth?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a mess.
And the advisory is for anybody who's going to try to get to the airport or get to Boston, either from the south or the north, allow 2 extra hours to your trip.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
So, if you plan on getting to the airport 2 hours early for your flight, and it takes you an hour to get there, now you're going to be leaving 3 hours early and getting there 2 hours. It's going to be a very long day. So,
It doesn't matter what you do. If you go by bus or whatever, it's still gonna be a delay.
well, and they said that they're encouraging people to take mass transportation.
Right.
Of course, we don't yet have mass
We don't have it yet, yeah,
transportation to get
yeah.
there. But they said even if you're taking mass transportation, allow extra time.
Yeah. My brother is coming. He lives in Ecuador. He's coming in for a visit in August, so he's already been writing me. Could you keep me updated on what's he knows about it,
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know what. He's probably going to take a bus from, but it's still going to take him time, to go to like Braintree. That's what I used to do, is pick him up in Braintree, take a bus from the airport there, because there's no way you're going to drive in. But even the bus is going to take forever, right? Because you're going to go on these side streets to go around East Boston to get back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I commute out
Oh.
every 2-3 weeks or so. I'm at Logan going out to
Oh, really?
And last few months, they've selectively closed Sumner Tunnel overnight.
Yeah,
Usually
right.
11 o'clock until 5 in the morning. And the traffic out of Boston at 11 o'clock is normally not that bad. When they closed the Sumner Tunnel, if my flight got delayed a couple of times and it put me after the tunnel was closed, and it
Yeah.
was an extra hour and a half
It was?
before I could even get onto 93, just because getting out of the airport proper was brutal. The traffic was so backed up because of that one tunnel being closed.
Oh my God.
So I think they're exaggerating a little bit on the 2 hours just to try to get people to be
Yeah,
proactive.
yeah, but a good hour.
But if at 11 p.m. it added an hour and a half just
Yeah,
to
think
get
about
out
it.
of the airport
Yeah.
at 5 p.m. or at 8 a.m., I would not want to have.
And
a
you know
flight.
they're going to do this again next summer.
Yeah.
This is not the only time.
Yeah, yeah.
Part 2 next summer. Holy mackerel.
Well, I know from the times that I've tried to get out of Boston after a doctor's appointment, I'd be on the highway at 3:30 in the afternoon,
Sure.
and you would still hit
Right.
a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Well,
You got to be out by like 2 o'clock. It's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
otherwise,
By
yeah.
3, all the construction guys are going out by 3.
yeah.
It's
so
a mess.
This is going to add some time. So
Indeed.
I want to just stay.
Well, it'd be nice when we get the transit, the train down here. That'll be
Yeah.
a big plus. That's going to start, I believe, this year, isn't it? In the fall or something? Oh my
Fall,
God, it's
September,
amazing.
I
It's so quickly.
Wow, quickly.
Well,
A couple of decades later.
I mean, once they started,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Once they started construction, I was
yeah.
like, holy mackerel, they'll be done in a year or 2 or something.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Didn't it take 20 years or something?
Yeah, a big dig. Well, it'll be done in a year. Well,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still not done.
Yeah.
Tiles are still falling on us. The next thing that I have, what thoughts and concerns, we've already talked about Gooseberry and the path that would be nice to have, but we're not going to have it.
Oh, stop it.
And Martin mentioned the Buckley Estates and Highland Avenue. I have not yet seen anything come from the planning board about that, but I will keep my eye out for it.
What was that for? What? I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah, the Buckley Estates.
Oh, yeah.
Highland Avenue.
Yeah.
I saw an article, an email actually, from the Westport Land Conservation Trust about Westport Woods. And the trail there that they have is very, very nice and very accessible and very wheelchair friendly, both manual and power chair. The article that I just read said that they had been planning to extend that trail, but now they've purchased the property and they're planning on actually moving forward with it. So that, right now, it's a great place to go. And if you have children, there are things for your kids to do, but if you're like me, you don't have young kids anymore, but you just want to go over and spend some time in a lovely spot, you should. Within the next 6 months, hopefully that trail will be double the size that it is now, and that will be even more of a pleasant
Yeah.
trip for people.
That's a great trail.
Any other thoughts, concern, any other suggestions on ways we can spend our money? We still have promised and committed the money towards the Hicks Bridge.
Yeah.
And we have not yet been asked to send that money to them. I don't know how far along that is now, but at some point we'll have to. But as we know now that we're talking about the ADA transition plan and hiring a consultant, we might have to commit some of the money to that. Hopefully, people will disregard the no parking signs or handicap parking only, and we will receive more money over the summer.
Yeah.
But we should still be thinking about things, and so when people from the local schools say, we want to get some adaptive equipment, we can get it. And as Martin and I discussed earlier, I found the email where Kim went to our town accountant and was told that the check would be going out to the vendor for those pieces of equipment. I have not yet gotten confirmation from anybody that it was actually sent, but I assume it was.
Yes.
So the town accountant sends checks, cuts checks every 2 weeks. school and kids are making use of it.
I told her, I spoke with Kim briefly, and I asked her that question about, she said, if they get the equipment and so forth, and she said, yeah, she's actually seen it in action.
Oh, great.
So they've got the equipment and they're using it, and she contends that, and I think it's true. I know you guys haven't seen it, but I don't know why I have it in my head. And let me tell you something, I'm not good with remembering things. So if I remember this, it must be true that I saw a thank you note that I thought you sent around, Brian, that you'd received it from, or maybe Kim sent it to everybody. Maybe you guys didn't get it. But anyway, it was on school letterhead, and it just said thank you for the donation and for the, I forget what they called the equipment, right? It was like a T-ball thing or whatever, and the kids love it. And so anyway, long story short, Kim said they do have it and they're using it.
Good. So if anybody can think of other ways that we can spend the money, as we have discussed several times, money doesn't do us any good, just
Right.
sitting there. And our purpose is to try to increase accessibility for our residents and try to improve their lives any way that we can. So.
Well, hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have more information on what this is gonna cost us for the transition, then we can decide how we wanna spend the money maybe, right? Because if it's 10 grand, maybe we should put 10 grand aside.
Right.
Well, what, 5 grand aside for,
Yeah.
because I don't know if the town's gonna give us any extra money, even though it's a one-time expenditure, like Jim said, it's still gonna be a tough, if the override doesn't pass, you know what I mean? There's no way I don't think we should be asking them for money if we've got it, but it's up to you guys.
Oh, I agree.
Just my opinion.
We'll just have to, as the summer moves along, confirm with the accountant how much money we actually do
Yes.
have, and then deduct from that the 5,000 for Hicksbridge, and maybe 10,000 to a consultant if it's going to cost 20,000 or 10,000. But at least as we move forward, we'll have more information.
Yeah. That's my homework. I'll have that for you next time.
Any other things people want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Check your note, Mark.
I'm trying to, my computer brain is going, see if I missed anything. I don't think I
I
missed
can
anything.
hear the wheels turning.
You see that smoke?
See the smoke?
See that
coming
smoke
out?
rising?
Yeah.
No, I think that's it. I usually have a few things on it.
Our
the
next meeting then is July 24, 2023.
Okay.
At 3:45, and we will be again in this room, the select board meeting. We don't meet here again until sometime in the fall.
Very good.
July 24, 2023, select
He-
board meeting room.
Select board meeting room. Very good.
And we can have more here to vote on this, but we all agree.
Yeah.
That it's time to adjourn.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad we didn't have anything very important to vote on. We didn't have to do any voting, right? So
Yeah.
at least we had some good discussions.
And it was nice of Jim Hartnett to stop.
It
by
was
and
nice of him to stop by.
Share his time with us, and I'm sure he has a lot of things on his plate these days.
I was just trying to help him because I was trying to say, like, I know it's got plopped on your lap. Maybe you don't want to do it,
Yeah.
but who else can we get to do it? At least he's had some experience in other towns, so makes me feel a little bit better.
So thank you both for coming.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
For any of you out there watching and listening, thank you for your interest. So, we are done.